The discussion is not allowed. If you're calmed down, if you're wiped out in the channels, if your books are burnt, I think this is a society I don't want to live in. And then I start fighting.
Well, the few try to control the many with threats. Threats of imprisonment, threats of fines. And the reality is, you know, the people that would come out to arrest me, the deputies, the sheriffs, the police, they're of the same mindset as well. They're Americans as well. They're not robots. They're also Americans that want their freedoms as well. It's been a year, and we're still dealing with these mandates and regulations. And they always throw the word out, temporary, temporary. Well, what is temporary? I mean, is temporary 5 years? Is it 10 years? Is it 20 years? What is temporary? I mean, to me, it's been this long, it's permanent. You may think that it's difficult to fight against the government. You know, it's a big bad government. You know, you can't win. But the government needs to realize that it's the other way around. They're fighting against the big bad people of America. They can't win. There's way more of us. And if they want that fight, then they can have it. We're not gonna back down. True Americans will not back down ever. And we'll win. We're not gonna lay down. We're not gonna run from a fight with the government. You know, that's what they want you to do. They try to beat you down financially and with all these different regulations and mandates, and they hope that you just eventually kneel down and kiss the ring. But it's something that I'm never gonna do. I'll fight as long as I have to, as hard as I have to.
The first step is very, very difficult sometimes. You just have to decide what is more important, that everything is quiet and you don't have problems, or whether you have more problems if you don't say it.
Yeah, attacks on freedom were coming from politics and ideology and so on, and now they are coming from health experts, if they are health experts, I don't know. So it's a very intransparent thing.
You think it is a pandemic, a viral problem, there's a sanitary problem, but if you unfold the monster, you will see medical crisis, it's a science crisis, it's a social crisis, it's a political crisis, it's a financial crisis, an economic crisis, a school crisis, a societal crisis. And all those crises were already there. I'm 42 years old, and all my life I've been told, we're in the crisis. It's the crisis. But now it's precipitating into this COVID crisis, and it's a call for solving it. We have to take this opportunity. If we don't take it, it's gonna come back again, harder and more violent.
If people would have said no, there would have been no Holocaust. We have to take responsibility for our decisions. And sometimes they'll be wrong, but we'll learn from them. But when they're wrong, when others make those decisions for us, we don't learn and they never change.
History is really important because the ones who don't know history are doomed to repeat it. And there is basically nothing new under the sun. So whatever we are witnessing right now, all these kind of things have already happened. And it was always, the rulers against the servants. And I think it's time, to change that. People should understand that we don't need rulers.
To say no is the condition to your freedom. Today you have the choice. You have the choice to stagnate and be imprisoned in the rhetoric of the government, the media, the academic world who wants you to be sick all the time, or you can run without a mask. You can be free, and you know your body, you know you're healthy, you know who you are, and you can just go. You're not alone.
I lose all my side jobs, or I lose friends. You lose a lot of people who don't want you to say it, to speak out, because it makes them feel bad when you speak out and they don't dare to speak out.
Everybody's trying to suck up to and get along so that they can have a role in the new system. That's not a system you want to live in.
I have a responsibility as a politician, as a doctor who knows those things. I am the one who trained all his life dealing with infections, with epidemics, with epidemiology. This is my work. So if I would be quiet, I could not see myself in the mirror anymore.
Courage is still having the motivation to fight when the odds are stacked against you, or when the perception is the odds are stacked against you. The courage to still fight and still believe that you can win. That's what courage is.
But what I would say to the middle group of people who are saying, I know that this is wrong, but I'm afraid, so this is your moment to really be a patriot, to stand up for your country, to stand up for your friends, your family, your community, your state, your country. And we need you to do it.
Liberty and personal responsibility are like two projections of the same underlying natural substance. If you're not a dictator with yourself, you cannot be free. We will have external anarchy when we have internal monarchy. So the state rules because the people have formed this institution and delegated to it the natural right they have to protect themselves, for example. And so a natural question arises, who could have delegated this to the state?
The governments, the state officials, the ones who wield power, they are entitled to do things which would be criminal if they would be done by all the other people.
What is the purpose of voting if no one has the right to do what they're voting about? I don't have the right to come and steal your shoes. Can I vote to delegate that right to someone else if I don't have that right to begin with?
So, for example, I can't rob you of your money, but if I am the state, I can say, okay, give me 40% of all you earn because it's taxes. And it's not considered robbery, but it's considered taxation, which is perfectly legitimate.
And so democracy in the strict sense, where you imagine that the people, the individuals, are above the state, means that the state can only have the power that could have been delegated to it in the first place. If no one has the right to regulate plants I ingest, or garments I have to wear on my face, or jabs I have to inject in my circulatory system, if no one has this right to impose this onto me, then no one can vote to delegate that prerogative, that power either.
One of the complaints of some over mandates is the idea that government is telling people what they can do with their bodies. Does it at all make you uncomfortable, the idea of telling people they must have the vaccine?
Very unusual situations like this require unique and unusual activities. But sometimes for the good of society, that's necessary.
And the Chancellor Angela Merkel says vaccines may become compulsory from February.
This is not about freedom or personal choice.
As far as vaccines are concerned, we are entering into a very basic problem of the relationship between human beings. The problem is, who is the owner of his own body? If you say that you are not the owner of your body, then you can accept that the government can make a vaccine mandate. But this is a violation of our human condition, which is based at least on self-ownership.
I own my own body, I own my own mind. It's a war against free speech. And it's also a war against self-responsibility. You know, when the government tells you what to do, how you have to protect yourself. But this is not the way it should be.
The awareness is really the main purpose, in consciousness awareness. That's about it. So yes, it is wake-up call. And how can you wake up? I think a simple method is to observe yourself, to distinguish, let's say, authenticity, so yourself, from something else.
I'm walking in the street, and what do I want in my life? I want to be happy. How do you project yourself? You are today deciding everything you want about the next step. And trust. You trust it. You know how to walk your life you have lived up to now. And you can be only better. But don't listen to the media or to the government to tell you who you are and what you have to be. This is where the trap is. You're not a mice that's going to go in the trap. You are you, your life, and you're going to walk into your beautiful life.
As long as you exist, it's never too late. So if the purpose of life is learning, you actually have sometimes, that's also a law, go through crisis so that you wake up that might be. So you see the power relations and that you are a victim and so on. And then maybe one person decides, I refuse to be a victim anymore and I want to, support my own existence. And there are still many ways, of course.
In fact, being hurt and being confused brings you to more self-development and self-consciousness. So I think it's necessary, but you have to know that you have to work on it.
I want to live in a society where we strive for truth, where we try to find out the right way for all of us, and I think this is worthwhile. I feel good doing this.
To keep your personal idealism is one of the most important goals in one's life, because it gives you direction, it gives you curiosity and research about what is preventing me from reaching that and so on.
I think it does help if you think that you have a higher purpose, if you have a calling that's beyond this life and beyond the narrow situation in which you find yourself. You need to be able to draw on that. I think, honestly, to endure the hostility of those around you who assume that you're crazy for challenging it.
Now, if I would tell you, for example, and out myself about an ideal I'm carrying inside me, I would say a lot about me. So, for example, my probably biggest ideal to reach is freedom, is liberty. And I know that it's an ideal that I'm not, 100% free. So now you know a lot about me when I say liberty is important for me. And then I have many obstacles, of course. And at the moment I have even a government who is telling me really things that he would not dare to tell me a couple of months ago.
I'm 17-year-old and a student from Germany, Bavaria. We go to the demonstrations because we want a better world with more freedom, more civil rights, and this liberty to have to decide about our own body and nobody to force us to do anything about it, like wearing masks or a vaccine. The pupils have to wear masks the whole day, even during sport lesson, during PE. They wear the mask because they are told otherwise it would be their fault that their grandparents die, or that their parents get sick, or that the whole school would be closed because of them, because they would be like spreaders or super spreaders. The distance is affecting the kids in that way that it's bad for their mental health, because they often need this contact to their friends, like hugging each other and, holding hands and touching. It's something very natural.
My name's Emma. I'm 11 years old. I'm in the 5th grade. I live in Portugal. Most of the time when I was at school, I wasn't able to breathe, and I started to get headaches. And when I had headaches, I couldn't really think about what I'm doing. And some teachers don't even let us take a breath.
I wear a mask to school. I wear a mask to school. Hi-ho the derry-o, I wear a mask to school. It helps to keep me safe. It helps to keep me safe. Hi-ho the derry-o, it helps to keep me safe.
Right now, they're being deprived of learning that, how to decipher people's expressions, body language. There's more to it. And when you hide the face, you're hiding everything, essentially. People no longer act freely.
in front of our children, we have the duty to say the truth. Our children wearing masks, it is impossible. It's a thing we cannot tolerate, that children are damaged like that.
Their whole curriculum is changed and there is no reason. So the school are the place of political war and the heads of the schools, and that happens in France, in Switzerland, everywhere in Europe, that the head of the school is going with the rhetoric and he's obeying and say, we are going to close the school. What's going on? You see, the parents are starting to wonder if they can have to do a school on their own.
I don't feel like I'm learning a lot of stuff at school because, well, they talk a lot about COVID and stuff and really don't talk much about what we're supposed to learn. We keep wearing the mask and all that stuff, and the cases still keep going up, so why wear them? They don't do anything.
For me, the mask is a symbol of slavery and of obedience. Like, the people just obey to what the government says and don't question it, don't think about it, don't think, does it make sense, don't think about how bad it is for their health.
The fact that they can get parents to suspend their responsibility for their children and follow directives that are changed between Monday and Thursday. I mean, what the heck? I can't believe it. We're talking about people who are educated. And I'm afraid that what's happened is that the university education, they've turned the graduates, instead of thinking people, into just accepting people. People who look to the authority to tell them what the next step is, what they're supposed to think, how they're supposed to, what the theory, the right theory. And the whole idea of going along to get along, all those kind of excuses. People want to go on vacation, people want this, and people who give in today may not ever be able to raise their voice again.
People are like kids. They're obeying to a government, to the media, without questioning themselves. You know, it's also reassurance. It's reassurance, the Stockholm syndrome. My abusive parent is protecting me. It's the dilemma of security versus abuse.
dreht gerade einen Film mit dem Titel Overcoming the Fear, deswegen ist jetzt hier schon mal auf der Bühne und macht ein paar Schnappschüsse.
We had a leak document from our interior ministry, and it says we have to put fear into the people. Yeah? So it was a plan to spread as much fear to the people as possible, so that every child has the fear of killing their grandparents if it goes out, or if it goes to them. It's all about fear. We have globally, propaganda, and we have globally a fear propaganda.
Well, these people don't look so afraid.
No, we don't. We are not afraid. It's getting bigger and bigger, and the more they force us, the more people join us.
We've had a world where, where one portion of the globe has benefited by exploiting the other portion of the globe. Now we're globalizing, and the question is, will we grow up and live in a world where we all can exercise our potential, or is it going to be just a few and then everybody else provides? So we've been in a middle state, and now it's all or nothing.
So this is true luxury. Not marble or caviar, but silence, space, and time. In order to introduce the collectivist world in which individuals don't matter anymore, in order to do this successfully, they had to refute and falsify the very notion of truth, the very notion of right versus wrong. Even if there's terrible pandemic where we see actual people falling on the ground, would this be justification to enslave humanity? No, of course not. Why don't we kill everyone with tuberculosis? That would eradicate the disease. Why don't we do this? Why don't we gather them in camps and exterminate them? This would be practical. So why don't we do it? Nobody in his right mind would advocate for doing such a thing because it's immoral. So moral exists. So then how do we define it and how do we explain it?
We understand, we're capable of reasoning. And reason automatically leads towards the golden rule. That people act in a good way. Because you don't want to be killed, you don't want to be stolen, you don't want to be murdered.
Ultimately, our loyalty has got to be the truth. And sometimes that means that actually the situation in which you're in might be really uncomfortable. You might actually, in a sense, feel like you have to be against the world. But you can be against the world and not be against reality itself.
The only option we have is to try and live in conscience, realize this whole tyranny, this whole circus is absurd, that it is immoral, and to opt out from it.
When I leave the planet and somebody is writing my obituary, what do I want them to write? Do I want them to say, well, that Pam, she was always so easy to get along with, just went along with whatever, never raised a fuss about anything, didn't make anybody mad. Well, maybe there's some merit in that to some people, but I think what I want people to write about me is I stood for something, that I did make the tougher choices, that I was willing to take a stand when it was unpopular because it was the right thing to do.
I think first and foremost what we're dealing with is spiritual. And the outcome depends on our ability to spiritually evolve and grow up. So, I tell everybody death is not the worst thing that can happen here. What can happen is you can lose your immortal soul.
And if you lose the fear of death, if you understand nothing can harm you and there's nothing to fear, which is a very good news, if you realize this, you're free.
Hug your friend, speak with your neighbor, put off your mask and get back to accepting that we suffer, that we die, that we are sick, and that we should take serrez les coudes. That means help each other.
When you say no, you are saying yes to a new life and to a new crowd. And this is beautiful. And you will always be helped and supported by the people who are getting free, because they will welcome anybody who wants to change. Even if I take a risk, even if I have no money, even if I have no education, I will manage in life. And so many manage, and so many can have a beautiful life.
We don't have the power to stop the central bankers from doing what they're doing, but my prediction is they will fail. It's too hard, it's too complicated, and it's too outside the laws of nature or the laws of divine intelligence.
At the end, there will be a sort of revolution. I'm sure, because all that is against nature, against science, and that cannot last. But so at the end, truth will win.
I hope that they will rise up people with common sense from the diverse parts of the society, of goodwill, to resist the new forms of dictatorship in the Western world.
And what can you do? Well, first of all, I would say be the change you want to see in the world. You start with yourself.
And educate yourself, be critical thinkers. It's very important right now.
And you don't need to do what you're told by corrupt scientists who are apparently advising our government.
And before you take a devil's bargain that says, in exchange for this shiny object, maybe air travel, maybe venues for concerts, maybe whatever that thing is, you get it only if you take this industrial chemical intervention. Ask yourself the question, will you be a fully functioning human being at the end of that transaction?
And I hope that all the citizens
the conscious citizen will go on to fight to regenerate the society and all the world.
The fight is different for everybody, so it's about finding where you're going to be most useful and where you can help push back against all of these encroachments upon our liberties, because the reality is we're getting attacked from all angles.
Civil disobedience, boycotting the businesses which are asking for the green pass, going down on the streets with rallies and protests and fighting them in court.
So we want to be single people of brothers, never to part in danger nor distress. We want to be free as our fathers were, and rather die than live in slavery. We want to trust in the one highest God and never be afraid of human power.
If they want to make us a machine, if they want us to make us slaves, we say no, we don't want to become slaves. So just piss off. We don't need you anymore. We are many. We can just go on, we can just go to bars and go to shops. We don't have to be afraid of any pandemic.
Wenn du trinkst Grappa, Coronavirus, den Covid-19, bleib weg. Okay, habe ich gesagt, trinken wir eine Grappa.
Thank you for watching the film. To continue to help and empower people, we've launched a site called source.news. It offers a vetted news aggregate with the traditional journalistic approach, separating fact from opinion, which is not so common these days and so needed now. So for 10 minutes a day, you can see the news and get on with your life and stop watching COVID videos. We have a resource page where you can find legal documents and scientific studies to help you defend yourself against all these infringements on our liberties. It has a video archive, and we're going to be posting exclusive interviews there. We are also going to host interactive interviews where you can ask the guests questions. There's also a beta social site where you can create your own forums and groups to help meet people locally and address all these important issues that are important to you and your local community. It's a work in progress, so offer us your feedback, please. It's very important. And with your help and your support, we can build something great here. Thank you.